Yo, what is up everyone? Back here with another video. In today's video, we're going to be breaking down all the new megas released in Pokemon ZA. This tier list is going to be primarily focused on the doubles competitive scene, so VGC. I know that we don't have the abilities out yet, but I do think we have enough with the base stats and the moves to kind of start making some initial like impressions. Because there's some Pokemon you could tell like, okay, if they have a great ability, great, they'll be even better. If they don't have a great ability, right, like they're going to be even worse. So I think it'll be cool too to also just look over the new megas, right, kind of see how they're, give it like what the first impressions they give are, like whether they're like strong or not. So it's definitely something I'm really excited to go over. But without further ado, let's get right into it. So I have all the mons here. We're going to be going through all of them. By the way, I put Zygarde and Floette into separate categories. They're legendaries. We're probably going to be evaluating them a little bit closer to something like a restricted format later on. In this case, we're going to be focusing on the Pokemon that will probably be immediately relevant in the Champions rule set. That will probably start out with the regional decks, like most new games usually do. But without further ado, let's get into it. So Mega Clefable is the first one I kind of want to look at. My biggest issue, honestly, with like Mega Clefable is primarily, right, if we're looking at, okay, we have a Pokemon that is already a decent, well, decent supporter might be a bit generous, but it is a supportive Pokemon. It uses Follow Me a lot and doubles to like support certain Pokemon, right? I feel like the main issue that it's going to have is that the Mega doesn't really give it enough like damage output. So like if we look at the base stat comparison, right, like 95, 80, 93, 135, 110, 70, right? Then you compare it to the original 483. So it gained a whole extra 100 stats, right? It gained a little more bulk. It gains a little more offense. It gains a little more special defense and a little bit more speed. But this isn't really contributing enough to it to make it like kind of stand out or like be different from like its predecessor in the way of like, oh, I'd still kind of just want to use Follow Me on this thing or use it as a supporter if I'm going to, unless this thing has like a crazy broken ability. Like, for example, if it had like, I don't know, Fairy Aura, like, something like Xerneas had or like whatever, where it was outputting like crazy amounts of damage because of its ability, then I could maybe see it being a bit more viable. But without like a major like crazy good ability on this thing, I don't think it's going to be able to differentiate itself enough from like the other megas, and like the base stats it gain doesn't necessarily give it enough power to like do a lot, right? I will say, obviously, it does have the access to that flying typing, like flying moves, but Air Slash is its main like move for that, so it's not like the most like impressive move ever. And also, to another thing to consider is that like Calm Mind is its main way of setting up, but then you have to set up on a 70 speed mon that can get like outpaced really easily. Special attack isn't anything to write home about, so to me, it doesn't strike me as a particularly impressive. C for Clefairy seems really fitting. Like, I mean, it's not like the worst thing you could use, right? Like, fairy coverage isn't horrible, and like having a Fairymon is like never really a bad thing on a VGC team. It's just it feels like it wouldn't really contribute that much or like carry its weight enough where you wouldn't want to put the Mega on something else and then maybe have a Clefable just supporting it with Follow Me. So next up is Mega Emboar. So Mega Emboar was a Pokemon I found really interesting because if you look at the stat changes, it ends up gaining a lot of attack, but also it ends up gaining some special attack, which I thought was really interesting because it kind of feels like Emboar is not like a Pokemon that directly like benefits from that. It does gain a huge boost to its special defense, which is great for its bulk. It gains a little bit of speed, and it also gains 10 in defense. To be honest, I feel like Emboar would have appreciated if all those stats that went to special attack got redistributed into its defense, just to make it a full-on like slow trick room sweeper, maybe even, because it kind of looks like it would be heavier in its Mega Evolution anyways. But that's besides the point. Like whatever, right? It is what it is. But I will say, you are likely to probably see Emboar still be used as a physical attacker with this moveset. The main issue with Pokemon like these, right, is like, nowadays I feel like in VGC, because Incineroar is as strong as it is, I mean, not even just Incineroar, it's Intimidate in general, but Incineroar is a big, like, proponent of that, right? Any, like, physical fighting types, if they don't have something like Inner Focus or, like, a way to stop themselves from getting, intimidated, are gonna have, like, trouble performing well, right? So running something like Mega Emboar, it's using single target moves a lot of the time, right? It could even sometimes benefit more by having an item, like in a lot of cases, right? And the attack boost is significant, but not enough where like maybe you'd want to commit a Mega to it, because there's also just like better firefighting Megas, right? Like if I want like raw damage output, I'm going to use something like Mega Blaziken. I'm not really going to lean into something like Mega Emboar, right? So like it's cool. It's also like I think if it had lost speed, it would have been interesting to explore in Trick Room, but I just don't see it being like particularly amazing, to be honest. Like I just feel like it kind of like it redistributes the stats in like a kind of intriguing way where it gives it more attack and like a little more special attack, but like it doesn't really do anything off of that. I think like it need to have a really really good ability to like probably save it from just being like one of those like more irrelevant megas for sure. Just because there's not too much you can do with it. Now let's go on to the next one. So Mega Scolipede. So by the way, offhand, this is my one of my favorite megas, just off of looks, not necessarily in terms of like how it impacts the game. Because to be honest, like I mean, it does get a huge stat change. By the way, like I will talk about this, but um, yeah, it's just one of the cooler megas to me and like how it looks usually. Now, a couple things to note: its HP stat is pretty low, which I think takes away from the tankiness of the Mon, which was like probably the original idea. I think this Pokemon might have a bigger impact in singles because in singles, for example, you set up Swords Dance, right? You get a speed boost, you protect, you get another speed boost, then you Mega, right? Now you have a +2 speed, even though Mega Scolipede loses speed, right? And then you also have like a ton of stats to go with that, right? It can also run like Iron Defense Body Press, so it can do a bit more damage, right? Maybe there is some niche for that in doubles as well, right? So for example, like let's say you have Iron Defense Body Press, Protect, and then you know Bug or Poison move, right? You could then immediately go for like Protect, Iron Defense, right? After you get the speed boost, you're +2, then you Mega, and now you have a plus 2 defense, +2 speed body press Pokemon, right? Now, that being said, that is a very specific niche. Like, that could make it probably do well into something maybe like Incin in some cases if it's like supported well. But I think the main issue is that because Scolipede loses so much speed and like its offense is stronger for sure, but I feel like you'll be hard pressed to like find a place to put a bug poison type on your team because bug types aren't traditionally like super good when it comes to VGC, just because of the amount of fire types that are used. There's a lot of steals, right? A lot of Pokemon that can give this thing some trouble. Maybe as like a mixed like offensive attacker, like Body Press, Poison Jab, Mega Horn, right? Like the coverage is actually pretty interesting, but I think the main issue is that like Scolipede is probably just going to be outpaced by a couple of other Pokemon that can just do the Iron Defense Body Press niche better, right? You know, obviously the Bug Poison coverage is really interesting into these balance teams that use like Rillaboom and then Body Press for Incin, but that might not be enough to necessarily save it, to be honest. Maybe on like a specific Trick Room team, like I'm sure there's like some compositions where like early on in regional dexes you can get away with it. It's just probably something that you're not going to see like used as frequently. To be honest, like I would honestly be tempted to like maybe move these down after we see the megas a bit more. But I feel like this is kind of a overlapping issue with a lot of the megas in this game. It's like it feels like they were scared to make the megas too broken, so they didn't redistribute their stats as like brokenly, but because of like the way the generations have progressed, right? Everything is so like min-maxed, right? So if you're not min-maxing your megas, you're kind of gonna just fall behind with your megas. That being said, so let's look at Mega Scrafty. So Mega Scrafty ends up getting a increase to its attack, a pretty decent increase to its attack, actually. It doesn't get anything to its HP. It does get to its defense, and it gets to its special defense as well. So it becomes pretty tanky, and then it also gains a little bit in speed, and it gains some special attack, which was just like a waste of stats for it. I feel like Scrafty just needed, again, like better distribution. Like even if you give it 10 more HP, that's pretty significant. That being said, it really depends on, again, the you know, ability it has, right? So some theoretical things it could have, like when I look at its like, you know, its vibe, like how it looks like I could see its ability maybe being immune to fake out and intimidate, right? So if it's like inner focus, that could mean it could be like decent. Also too, it did gain parting shot, but the thing is like the fact that it gained parting shot, right? It's basically like Incineroar light. So it can be used like parting shot, fake out, you know, like close combat, whatever, right? But why wouldn't I just use a regular Scrafty that can like use intimidate, right? Like why wouldn't I just want to take advantage of the fact that like I can already use intimidate with Scrafty and play it as a supportive piece? And it kind of goes back to the Clefable issue, right? It's like these Pokemon already have like, well, define niches is a bit generous, but like they have like good uses as supportive mons, right? So your mega has to be different enough where you give them such crazy stat distributions where they do something different. So I feel like for that reason, like Scrafty and Clefable will probably never have their megas really showcased. Even Emboar, really, like Emboar at least like is like a full dedicated attacker. Scolipede, I could see some niches for it, right? But I feel like with Scrafty and Clefable, if we're talking pure competitive viability, unless they get really good abilities, there's gonna be no reason to use them, right? You would just rather use their main like, you would rather just use the main utility of the mons than have them be the way they are, I guess, right? Um, but yeah, so next up is Mega Eelektross, right? So with Mega Eelektross, now the interesting thing with Eelektross is they gave this thing like a bajillion offensive stats, right? Now, if we're talking defensively, right, it actually didn't change that much. It gained a little bit of special defense. It gained some speed too. They gave it 30 points in speed. Now, 284 speed still isn't the most like it isn't the fastest Pokemon ever, but at least if you were using it in Tailwind, there's like some benefit to it. It's still a mono electric type, and if it loses Levitate, that is going to take away one of its like main niches, which was just being a Pokemon that's like completely neutral and everything, but didn't really have the bulk for that. So to be honest, what I would have liked to see as a direction for Mega Electros maybe was leaning harder into like it having a lot of bulk and then leaning into one of its offensive stats, because then it's like, oh, how do I get rid of a Mega Electros that just like has Levitate, but it's like statted out of its mind and it does damage back, right? But I'll be interested to see what they do with ability here. But one of the main problems with like it is cool that you obviously split the stats up, so now it can be run as either physical or special. But I feel like it's gonna be forced to run either or. And the speed increase actually kind of takes away any niche it had as like maybe being like a trick or a mega. So, I mean, maybe you could use it as like a mid-speed mega. So, like, for example, if it still had Levitate after megas, maybe you have Mega Electros plus like Hizui and Ursaluna Discharge Earthquake, right? But then I would also beg the question of like, do I want a different electric type that can do that? It has a pretty wide range of coverage, like if we're looking at the general moves. But the thing is like it right now it just kind of looks like a linear offense mon. And again, with Incineroar being in the format, right, you need to have a mega that can like really just sit in front of like offensive pieces and like do that, right? So I feel like for right now, I'd probably be forced to pull like Eelektross in the F tier again. Like if it's going to be getting faked out, it can get parting shot cycled. It's not very fast, right? It's not really standing out. I mean, its offense is okay, but again, like there are other megas that are distributed way better, right? Like any of the pseudo megas are automatically going to have like a lot better stats, so you'd be more incentivized to use them. And I don't think that's a case of like you need to nerf the pseudo megas more. I think it's a case of like when you're buffing Pokemon with such low BSTs, like for example, like Scrafty, Clefable, like even Electros isn't the lowest BST, but still, right? Like you need to be giving them like bigger point stat increases, right? And you need to be distributing their stats better. And I feel like that's like again a big drawback of Eelektross, unfortunately. Um, Now, Mega Delphox is the first one that I see here where I'm like, okay, this thing actually could be pretty scary. Not only does it have 159 special attack, it's also 134 speed. So this is actually a very fast mon, right? It's going to be outspeed for sure in a regional dex. You'd be outspeeding like most Pokemon for sure. And even though you have like kind of whatever bulk, right? Its stat distribution is actually very scary, right? Especially with the fact that expanding force is a thing, right? Now, if you have an expanding force Delphox that's going to be launching out with psychic terrain, like these expanding forces, has fire coverage to hit steel types, right? Like that's actually really scary. It will be competing a little bit with Alakazam in that expanding force role, but I think it having the fire type does give it a little bit of an edge. To be honest, I could see this being a very, very scary like mega, just because of the expanding force stuff, right? Like it makes size spam like very scary. Like if you have, for example, like Sneasler, you have Sneasler, Delphox, and Indeedee, right? Like that's pretty scary to deal with, especially with all the pressure it can put out. Even just Indeedee, Delphox in general. Not to mention Delphox also gets quite a couple of moves that can be pretty difficult to like play around, right? And not only does it get Calm Mind, I think it does get Plot. Yeah, it gets Nasty Plot. So you can have fire and psychic coverage. You can use Follow Me with Indeedee, set up a Nasty Plot, boom. Now you're dealing like a lot of damage. So I'm gonna put that in the A tier for now. Out of all the new megas, I think it is one of the better ones for sure. And it might even go up a little bit more after we're done going through the list, because I'm probably gonna readjust a little bit once we kind of get through everything. But yeah, no, I think Mega Delphox is like a genuinely very scary like mega to contend with. So next up is going to be Chandelure. So Chandelure, first off, this thing has an insane special attack stat, right? So again, like, and this is kind of what I was talking about. Like, if you're going to lean into a Pokemon, you're going to lean into its strengths, right? Chandelure already has like a decent base stat total. Boom, you give it more stats. Now its special attack is a crazy 175, right? Its special defense goes up as well. So its special defense goes from 90 to 110. Its defenses go to 110. Its HP didn't increase, but this will make it a little bit better. And its all speed also increased. So all of its increases were good, but again, the attack stat increase is just like so pointless and like it's wasting so many points that like had you put this in speed for Shandy, right? You give Shandy like 110. That's pretty scary, right? Like you can make something with that, or even in the HP, right? Or defenses, give it 120 in defenses. Like that's pretty big, but like they just basically made it weaker to foul play, which I guess they're worried about like making like, because the thing is like, okay, when you optimize a mon like this, right? Like you're scared of making it too good, right? But I feel like the whole point of Mega is like if you want to contend with stuff like Kangaskhan, Salamence, Gengar, like those guys, right? You need to make like certain mons broken, right? Or you need to try and make your megas like more broken. And Delphox was a great example of that, right? Like it can outspeed Mega Gengar, can expanding force it, right? Before it gets the move, right? It's faster than all the other megas, right? It does a bunch of damage. And Chandelure feels like it's not bad, but like it definitely could have been a little bit better. The ability will definitely play a huge part. I think if it just has Flash Fire, it's going to end up just being one of the kind of like the mid megas. I think it's like slightly better than something like Emboar or whatever. But you have to remember it's contending with like Incineroar in the format, right? If Incineroar is around. If Terra's in the format, Terra Fire, Rillaboom, high horsepower, right? You could just sit in front of a Chandelure. You're not going to appreciate the Shadow Balls, but like you can take it. Now, it does have a really interesting moveset, right? Like you can run Calm Mind on it, so maybe a Calm Mind setup Shandy. You know, obviously you get like really powerful heat waves. I think maybe if they give it another like strong special fire move, that could be really good as well. But yeah, that's definitely something I think would benefit it for sure. Now, I don't want to like overrate it because I think it's definitely better than something like Emboar or Scolipede. To be honest, I want to drop Emboar down to F tier. I'm gonna put Scolipede in C because at least with like speed boost stuff into Mega, like if you have a good Mega ability, I could see that being really good. Chandelure is probably a B, maybe a C. C for Chandelure actually sounds a bit more correct to read, not just because of the name, but just, you know, it's like, no, it's better than Scolipede for sure. Like, I would rather have a Mega Chandelure than have a Scolipede, but I think it's going to contend with other Fire-type Megas, right? If you contend with Delphox, right, that's going to make it a little bit difficult, but yeah. Next up, okay, Mega Greninja, right? So Mega Greninja is really interesting to me. So what I was kind of expecting was like Ash Greninja stats, right? Which is where it gets like you know, like a big increase to its offenses. But I mean, it's still a big increase. I shouldn't like downplay it that much, right? It is still an increase. Now, interesting to note, so its defenses got a little bit of a buff, right? So they both got 10 in each defenses, and then its HP obviously buffed nothing, and then its attack and its special attack and its speed all got buffed. Now, I do think its speed tier is really interesting, right? It is pretty quick. I do think it's actually still slower than Calyrex Shadow, so that's like a big bummer because I think a big appeal of Mega Greninja would have been being faster in Calyrex Shadow for like restricted formats. That could have been a really cool niche. That being said, the fact that it is faster than Delphox, I think does make it pretty significant, and the fact that we'll probably be the fastest Mega in the game, is like a big deal for sure, right? Now, realistically speaking, right, I think a big part of Mega Greninja is the fact that its offense is so strong, right? So like when you put pieces around Mega Greninja, you're gonna need to really support the fact that it's like doing damage, right? I think like the main issue I could see happening with like Mega Greninja is more so the fact that like it's not gonna be able to get going quick enough in some cases unless it gets like a plot up. If it like plots first, which is a new move for it, by the way, if you can maybe plot with it next to like a follow me, then Mega Greninja is really scary with Water Shuriken and that. So I'm gonna put a tentative like B tier, maybe A. It could even get up to because it's like one of the good counters for Mega Delphox. Ice Beam lets it hit Mega Mence. Dark Pulse for Mega Metagross. There's like a bunch of stuff that it can like hit for sure. So I might even be tempted to put it. Honestly, it's not that bad. I'd probably put it in A for now. Next thing I want to talk about will be Mega Chesnaught. So Mega Chesnaught's stat distribution was really interesting. It ended up getting a huge buff to its attack and defense. So this is kind of what I'm talking about, right? You're gonna buff them on, buff the best parts about it, right? And they just basically took away from Chesnaught's speed and redistributed to make its like other stats really good. Didn't do any useless investment in its special attack. Thank you. And they made it very, very bulky and offensive, right? This is a great idea for a Mega, I think. Like at least like what you're doing with your stat distribution. Now it's slower. It can maybe work in Trick Room. Body Press from this thing is terrifying, right? This is a crazy defense stat from Body Press to be launched from. Now, it doesn't mean that's perfect. Like there are still going to be issues for Mega Chesnaught for sure. The fact that there is a lot of competition with Iron Defense Body Press, but I really, really like the fact that Mega Chesnaught has a really good stat distribution, and I think Body Press from this thing with Iron Defense will be super scary. We can't forget it gets Belly Drum, Body Press, Grassy Glide as well. I guess Drain Punch is what you would run in that case, and like there's some other stuff for sure. Like if you're running it with Rillaboom. Now the only thing is like you can't run Citrus Berry, which would be annoying for it. But the stat increase you're gaining is so significant. I don't know if it gets Swords Dance actually. Let me take a look at that real quick. It does get Swords Dance. Okay, so yeah, you could run like Swords Dance, Drain Punch, Grassy Glide, right? Like stuff like that. Like it is definitely like there's a lot of things you can do with it. I think it is a better Mega in general than like a bunch of the others. Next up is Mega Dragalge. So Mega Dragalge was really interesting to me because I wasn't really anticipating it being a Mega. Now, one thing I think they did really, really good with Mega Dragalge is they did not increase its speed, right? This actually makes it viable in Trick Room, right? At least like it makes it like so it can be played in Trick Room, right? You're not giving it an awkward, like weird mid-speed tier where it's like going to be kind of fast but kind of slow. Like you're leaning into the fact that it is a very slow Pokemon, right? Now, I do think that there's some things to be desired here, right? Like they gave so much investment to its special defense, and again, they gave like some useless investment to its attack, which is never great. But it does have a really high special attack set now. Now, if it keeps adaptability, I could see this Mega being really scary in Trick Room because then it's throwing out like really terrifying Dracos, throwing out really terrifying Sludge Bombs, right? It can do like good damage. If they give it a different ability, I feel like it'd have to rival the power of adaptability. Otherwise, you would be like, why wouldn't you just run regular Dragalge or not run it at all, right? The main problem I'd see is like Poison Dragon is a really interesting typing because it's actually really good at answering like these kind of balancy teams with like Rillaboom, Incin, those kind of Pokemon, right? Like Primarina even. But again, right, you're committing your Mega to this, so you want it to be paying off. I think it's a Mega that will like be decent enough. Like it's not like the worst, right? If I had to pick one, like I'd feel fine about it. I would probably put it down in C tier. I'm gonna put Chandelure down in C as well. The more I think about it, I'm even tempted to put Chesnaught down. Chesnaught's actually more of a B. I'd say like okay, in the order of like how I'd prefer to have it, Scolipede is like intriguing to me because of the fact it gets Iron Defense, Body Press, right? Poison Dragon coverage is really good in balance typing, so I put it in B. Chandelure is enough of a stat distribution that like I think it could be good enough. So maybe we'll keep it the same and we'll like readjust. Next up, Mega Pyroar. Okay, I'll be honest. One of the most half-baked Megas I've ever seen, right? It's like they were too scared to make it good, basically. Like look at the stat increases, right? So they gave this thing 20 in its attack. Useless. Completely pointless. It is a special attacker, right? They give it 92 defense. So they give 20 in defense. So that's already 40 of your stats wasted. Another 20 in special defense. So now you only have 40 base stats you can invest somewhere else, and we put it in special attack and speed split. Now Mega Pyroar sucks. It's not doing enough damage. It is terrible. It's mid defenses at best. Its attack is useless, right? And it's just not faster than anything. Like horrible Mega, like very bad Mega actually. Like it is the bottom of F. If I could put it lower than F, I'd put it lower than F, basically. Like it just cannot be saved by like anything. To be honest, it's so bad that it's making me want to clear out F tier. Like that's how bad it is, basically. Like it is such a badly designed Mega, in my opinion. At least for making it good. Like I don't think you could give this thing any ability that would save it from being like mid at best, right? Unfortunately. Next up, Victreebel. Okay, so I knew that as soon as I saw this thing, like it wasn't really gonna be that crazy. Like they need ability to make this thing really, really good, right? And even that wouldn't like save it. Now I will say, right? I will give it some credit, right? If it gets Chlorophyll, right? With the stats it has, it would be a pretty strong Chlorophyll attacker. Now that doesn't even save it though, because it's like split again. I hate when this happens. They split its offenses. They gave it mid bulk, right? And they didn't give it any speed, right? And if you're gonna be a Chlorophyll mon, you need to be faster. You need to be faster in Fluttermane. You need to be faster in other stuff, right? It makes sense. It's a big bulky mon. I wasn't really expecting it to be a fast Chlorophyll mon, but then make it a like obese tank, right? Like make it take hits really, really well. And it just feels like, unfortunately, on this Mega, it just like completely missed the mark, right? Like the defense increases weren't enough, right, to save it. Its increases to its offense are appreciated, but it's not enough to like make it viable. And I just unfortunately feel like, again, it's another Mega that like is just going to like not really be that relevant. To be honest, I'm moving Scrafty and all these guys up because at the very least, like they have like they, you know, like I can't fully support their distributions, but they weren't like the worst distributions ever, right? We look at like Mega Pyroar and Mega Victreebel, it's just so disappointing in comparison. Mega Malamar, so like again, right? Take Malamar, right? It is not a good stat Pokemon. This Pokemon desperately needed some extra stats. Like they needed to just give it like 200 or something, right? Like, or not even 200, 150, right? Its attack now goes to 102, right? Its special attack goes to 98, right? Its defense goes, it stays at 88. Its special defense goes to 120. Its speed goes to 88. Like, this just basically feels like you took the slider, you went up, 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 right? Now, no matter what the ability is, unless they're a bit, like, if the ability, like, sets Trickermon switch in, like, maybe, right? But, like, then it can't use contrary superpower. So then its attack sucks, and its special attack sucks compared to, like, all the other sweepers. Its speed is too fast. So, like, it doesn't want to be an expanding force sweeper because they're just better expanding force ones. Like, this thing needs, like, a crazy ability. And, like, even then, I just feel like the stat distribution leaves so much to be desired. Like, it is just an F-tier stat distribution on Mega automatically. Like, Pyro is the worst one. I would argue Malamar is the second worst, to be honest. At least Victreebel has something, right? But these three are just, like, the worst, by far. Like, it's not even close. They are just the worst ones. Let's take Hawlucha, right? So, Hawlucha, right? Its increases come in its attack stat, right? It gets a huge increase to its attack stat. It gets an increase to its defense, right? It gets a increase to special defense. Thank God there was no increase to special attack, right? And its speed stays the same. Unfortunately, I think this thing's speed is going to kill it. I think it doesn't have enough speed to successfully outspeed a lot of, like, big threats in the metagame. Now, if they give it something like Inner Focus, I could see it being a really niche, like, anti-meta mon, right? Like, because then you can't get faked out, right? You can't get, you can't get, like, stopped by Ensign. You can pressure Rillaboom. Like, firefighting actually has some decent potential to typing. So I'm going to hold out for the ability to rate it less, to be honest. Like, I'd probably say at least, like, with a good ability, it at least has more viability than, like, a lot of these other Megas. But again, like, it's okay. Like, it's definitely not as bad as, like, the F tier Megas for sure. But it's definitely not, like, great. Okay. Let's go to the next one, which is Barbaracle. So Barbaracle actually gets a typing change. It's one of the only Megas in this game that actually get the typing change, which I think is pretty interesting. If we're looking at the stat changes, now, it does get 10 in its special defense, or special attack, which I think is a big crime. But it's not, like, the worst. You know what I mean? Like, it could be worse. It gets a huge increase to its attack set. It gets an increase to its defense. It gets an increase to its special defense. It gets increased to speed. I actually think this Mega has some potential. Rock and Fighting types, the only one that's been good in the past was Terrakion, and it kind of fell off recently. But the fact that it gets Shell Smash as a Mega, I think gives it an actual significant niche. And I want to clarify, when I'm putting these in tiers, I'm tiering them against every other Mega in this category, right? Like, with these other Pokemon here in a vacuum with their stat increases, how good they are for these individual Pokemon compared to each other, right? If we're talking in the meta, Barbaracle would probably not even be, like, in the close to the B tier, right? If we're talking all Megas. But if we're talking, like, it compared to the other Megas, I actually think it gives it a respectable enough niche where you could, like, consider using it, right? Now, to continue down, right? Drampa. So Drampa, now, okay, I will say, great stat investments. They did not give it speed, so it is not faster. Yes, great, awesome, right? They gave it a lot of attack, which 25. They wasted 25 of the 100 on attack. That's kind of bad. But, right? Its defenses went up. Its special attack went up pretty substantially, right? Now, there's only one small problem with a slow normal dragon type meant to pressure opposing Pokemon in the format. Why would I not use Blood Moon Ursaluna, right? And just for comparison's sake, right? So let's take this, right? I'm going to move this over here real quick. Hold on. Let me pull up Blood Moon real quick. Ursaluna Blood Moon. Okay. Let's compare this to Blood Moon, okay? In this instance, okay? Ursaluna Blood Moon. 100. Okay, so let's compare stats, right? First off, defenses and HP better. Special defense is worse, right? But it doesn't require a Mega. Its special attack is crazy strong. It's a little bit faster, so Drampa's slower, right? But it has a stab, ground, earth power to complement everything the normal type moves can't hit. And also, too, its normal type moves cannot be walled by ghost types, right? This, unfortunately, unless Drampa gets something like Mind's Eye or something where it can't do that. And even then, it doesn't get to use Terra to make its attack stronger. Because Terra, Life Orb, Blood Moon is stronger than Drampa, right? It is completely outclassed, and the only niche it has is like a slow trick or normal type, right? That being said, it is not as bad distribution-wise as like Victreebel, Malamar, and Pyroar, right? So for that reason, it gets a bit of a pass being in the C tier, I think, right? To be honest, like, I'm going to make a D tier because I do think there's like some D tier worthy mons real quick. And then I'm going to make an F tier and like, oh, you know what's going in the F tier already. I have been very vocal about which ones I think are horrible, right? Drampa, D tier. I guess that makes sense. Eelektross, D tier. Clefable, Scrafty. I'm going to keep Hawlucha and Scolipede in C. Emboar, I'm very tempted to put in D, to be honest. I'm not the most, like, impressed by it, but it at least gets a pass, right? It's like something. But we'll leave it at B for now, and then we can readjust if need be, okay? But yeah, so that's kind of my feelings on Drampa. It's like, yeah, you just, unfortunately, you put it against Blood Moon. There's just no competition for which one's better. Okay, Falinks. I actually think this Pokemon is pretty good. I think it's actually a pretty cool design. It's being mono fighting typing is not good for something like Roaring Moon, or not Roaring Moon, sorry, for Megaments, right? And it flutters in the format, that's gonna be pretty difficult. Maybe if you give this thing Scrappy, after Defiant, that could be pretty good, or some ability where it's like maybe, I don't know, like something to do with the shield or like how it transforms, whatever. It's not bad if you no retreat with this thing first, right? And then you have Defiant and then you mega it, right? Like it's actually, it can do damage, right? Not like the best thing ever, but it's not the worst. Like I think at the very least, like its stat distribution is good enough to warrant being in like the C tier. Like Defiant in a format with Incineroar is automatically going to be better than like a lot of these other Pokemon that are around in terms of like what they can do, right? Let me move Clef here. I'll move Scrafty up here just in case, because if Scrafty has a good ability, maybe it's like decent. Eelektross, probably put Emboar down here. Eelektross down here. This looks more or less correct to me. I probably put Scolipede lower than Falinks maybe. Now, again, I want you guys to also understand I'm looking at stats right now. Obviously, once we have abilities, that might change a little bit of like what the impressions are of things, right? And they might look a little bit different. So that's something to always keep in mind. Now, let's keep taking a look, right? Through the mons. So we kind of already talked about Falinks. Now next is Starmie. Okay. We're not gonna. All right. This is what I'm gonna say. Okay. I actually am very conflicted on this mon. First off, they just gave this thing like legs, which I think is really silly. I think it is. Like they could put more effort in the mega design. That being said, look at the stats it has. Okay. This thing was already like kind of well rounded, right? Like it already had like a decent, it's not great, but it was decent, right? They basically now turned this thing into like a CTS monster, right? You could fight a special Starmie in Mega Starmie in CTS. It can use Expanding Force. Its speed tier isn't horrible. Its defenses are okay. Its attack is really high. So now you could use it as a physical attacker if you really want to. I think it's not the best ever, but it at least like does something for it where it's interesting. And like we don't know the ability yet, right? So maybe it has like a crazy ability too. I actually think Mega Starmie, not off of design, but off of all of its stats and everything, at minimum deserves like a C. I would even maybe say a B tier, to be honest, because all the stats it gained were like, I mean, the attack, I don't know how I feel about that, right? I feel like if you just buffed its special attack more, it would be fine. It kind of is the crime of like buffing it and giving it two good offenses. But in CTS, I could see that being pretty obnoxious. So it's like fine. CTS is referring to closed team sheet, by the way. I would probably put it in like C, to be honest. Mega Dragonite. Oh, man. Oh, I have some opinions on this one. Okay, right? You're giving a pseudo Omega, yes? When you give a pseudo Omega, right? I'm expecting this thing to be broken, okay? I'm expecting some, like, stat blob monster that's going to be, like, rivaling Mega Gengar, rivaling Megaments. This thing needs a really good ability to do that. Its stats are crazy. You look at the stats, you're like, how could this be bad, right? And I necessarily wouldn't like disagree with you, but then you think about like, okay, like what is it doing, right? Like if it had like more attack, like let's say you give this thing like, it's like it felt like they were scared to make Megadina like even scarier with extreme speed, honestly. If they gave this thing like Aerialate even, which is like the easiest thing you can do, right? Give it double edge, extreme speed, make it faster, make it more offensive, right? It has inner focus to start. This thing is a balance breaker. It shreds through balance teams, right? But they gave it a special attack, which is making me think it's not going to be inner focus, right? Or be Aerialate, right? At least like offhand, I'm not getting the vibes that it's going to be Aerialate. And even if it was Aerialate, now its extreme speed is weaker for having Aerialate, right? So, I mean, it'll technically be stronger in some cases, but like you could use Terra normal band extreme speed, it'll be stronger, right? That being said, right, it could be really good because its speed increases, its special attack is good. I think Megadina will be like a demon in CTS best of one. I think it gets saved off of the fact that there's going to be close team sheet best of one, right? And for that reason, I'll put an A tier, right? It also, it's like, I think the distribution was bad, but the thing is pseudos are so good that like even if you distribute its stats bad, it's still gonna be good. It's just I was kind of mind boggled that they took out of like attack was the main thing, right? That being said, it is still something that's like, you know what I mean, relevant. Like like you know what I mean. It's not bad. You know what I mean? Like it's always going to be a good Pokemon because it is like a pseudo, right? Getting a buff. That being said, though, I feel like they could have done better with it, obviously. And of course, these are all opinions, right? Like, of course, like again, you know, I'll play anything. I don't really care that much, but I do feel like a lot of the megas had missed opportunities to like make them better, right? That being said, right, I do think, right, if we're comparing the two, right, overall, I feel like you will gain a little bit less from Mega than Terra, offhand. And also, Mega, you're not changing your typing, and you can't use it on Rain because our Chaludon will just completely wall you out, right? So the special attacker, Hydro Pump, Hurricane stuff in Rain is not going to be good enough to, like, save it, basically. Is what I'm thinking, offhand. That being said, if it gets crazy ability, on top of the fact it got all these stat buffs, I think it could be really good. So we're going to leave it here for now. Even if it has Aerialate still, that'll probably make it really good. As like a special attacker, right? You get Hyper Voice, right? You get a ton of stuff it can do. It'll be interesting for sure. Now, Mega Meganium, over here, so its stats increase, like it gets a pretty high special attack, which is kind of crazy. Like, honestly, like, it definitely got one of the better buffs of all the mons. Like, I think, again, the investment in attack, stop doing that, right? But its defenses are good. It gets 15 in both defenses. Special attack goes up to 143, which is insane, right? And, yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it, right? Like, it just gets a huge buff to special attack. Now, that being said, right? Grass Fairy types with strong special damage, that's cool. Problem is, Incineroar's in a lot of things. That being said, I will say, if we're comparing it to all the other megas added, right? This Pokemon got a much better buff than a lot of the other ones. By far, right? It received a very good buff. I think the Mega actually makes it a better Pokemon in general. So for that reason, I'm willing to put an A tier comparatively to the other Megas. Giving it Fairy typing is great. I like a lot of the changes there. Feraligatr. Okay. Feraligatr, first off, let's start with this, right? Yes, it gained, again, it gained a lot of stats and stuff it was stronger in, right? It didn't gain speed, gained special attack, but only 10, so I'll let it fly, right? Because they got to do something like that, it seems, every time. But its special defense got better. Its defense got better. It gained dragon typing. It got an attack buff, right? That's pretty good. That's pretty good. Like, again, it will depend on the ability, but in terms of straight improving its stats, it is a better Pokemon when it's Mega than not, right? It has Dragon Dance. It has tools that can benefit off of this, right? I actually very much like how the buffs change it, and I think that it makes it a better Pokemon, which is good. Now, next up, Skarmory. So this one's weird because I've never, like, okay, so let me think about how I word this. Remember how I was saying, like, okay, taking out of D-Knight's stats is, like, kind of criminal, but, like, still okay? Like, Skarm, right? Its best thing about it for its entire existence has been its defense, right? And I see what they were going for. They were saying, okay, well, what if we mix it up and it megas and then it loses some defense, gains that attack instead, and it has a bunch of other stats. But there's a problem with this, right? I have to mega my Skarm to gain more stats, right? Gain more attack. If unless it has like mirror armor, right? It's gonna be taking a bajillion from any attack that gets thrown at it, right? And even then, Corviknight is still better because Corviknight has mirror armor, roost. You can run an item on it, right? This thing, the speed tier is like okay, I guess, right? It's fine. Like it gained a bunch of speed. Like it's weird. Like they gave it a bunch of stats, but it just doesn't feel like it did enough, right? Like they put 60 base stats in its attack, right? They put what was it? 60 base stats in its attack. They put was it 30 in Spadef, 40 in speed, right? And they took out of defense for that as well. Wait, what they hold on. How many stat points does this change? Wait, 60. So they added 60 to this, right? They added 30. They added 40, right? Okay, and then they took out a defense. Yeah, like, oh man, that drives me nuts. Oh man, that's such a bummer. Yeah, I don't know. Like, I mean, Skarm was kind of doomed because they only buffed these megas by like 100, right? But like, and if like they tried at least, they tried to give it like something and like redistribute its stats because like it had a lot of defense anyways. It's just like again, like I would rather use Corviknight. I'd rather use a mon with bulk, right? Um, At least it didn't buff its special attack. That would have been a crime for something like Skarm where it really needs the stats. But I just, unfortunately, I just don't think it's enough, right? Like, again, this is just like where you really need like the, like you just really need like either a broken ability or you need like them to just completely like min-max mons, right? Like get rid of all the wasted stats, redistribute them into broken places, right? And unfortunately, I just think this one like missed the mark a little bit. Now, next up, this one I'm pretty excited to talk about. I actually think this was one of the better megas of the ones they made, right? Megadrill is crazy, right? Boom. Low defense, low special defense. Don't worry about it. Right? Or, well, actually, worry about special defense. Don't worry about the defense. Boom. We buffed that, right? Good HP stat. He keeps that, right? Boom. Attack stat. Increase even more. This thing's attack is sky high crazy. And it's faster than Garchomp. Thank you for making it faster than Garchomp. All they did was they gave it 15 in its speed and it's faster than Garchomp. Thank you. Now, I didn't forget. You did buff its special attack by 15. I'm a little upset at you for that. But it's okay. Because Excadrill stats are so good. Unless they give this thing a horrible ability. If they give this thing Sand Force, I will be devastated. I will be absolutely devastated if Sand Force is this thing's ability. Okay? Don't give it Sand Force. Don't pull a Mega Garchomp on this thing. Okay? That being said, granted the ability is not bad. You have made a very nice Mega. Give it Sand Rush. Keep Sand Rush on it. It will be great with Sand Rush. Right? It is actually a very, very cool Mega concept. It makes it stronger. It's better. It's cool. Right? I'm going to tentatively put an S. And I'm also going to increase Delphox to S now that we're getting near the end of the list. Delphox and Exca, best design megas of the entire game so far. A tier, I'm going to move Dragonite down to the bottom of A because I think he like just passes. Meganium and Feraligatr are really good. Mega Gren is, actually, they can all stay there for the most part. Dragonite is like only an A because it was already like kind of broken anyways, right? And then finally, we have Frostlass. As you can tell, I'm not particularly like passionate about this mon. I mean, they gave it a lot. Like honestly, they didn't even give it bad stats. They didn't give it more attack, which again, like you know, I always get on that stuff. They didn't give it more defense either, which is like okay, whatever. They basically gave it like discount Flutter Mane stats, which I guess in a format where Flutter Mane isn't relevant, it's fine. I just don't think you'll have any reason to use this if Flutter Mane or other ghosts are in the format. It's like fine. I mean, it's like Like I'm not like moved. I mean, it's not like the worst distribution I've ever seen. Like they did their best with the 100 points they had, basically. But yeah, it's probably just a D tier anyways. All right, now let's look at actually reorganizing it based on like what I think is like good and what I think is bad, right? We're gonna specifically take any Pokemon that gains special attack that wasn't supposed to gain special attack for no reason automatically is like on the poopy part of the list, right? F tier, worst distributed megas ever, right? Like these are just bad mega designs. They're not bad mega designs in how they look. Well, okay, whatever. We'll ignore that part. But what I'm saying is like their stats. Mega Pyroar is a crime against Pokemon, right? Like they just don't like Pyroar. Because you can't do that, right? We'll just recap them all as we go up. Malamar, very mid stat distribution. I don't think no matter what ability you give it can save it. Victreebel, they just didn't commit to one or the other stat. I think they held it back. Drampa, Blood Moon, or Saluna exists. That's rough. Clefable, you want to keep, like, you kind of just want to use it as, like, redirection. Mega Scrafty, unless he gets a really good ability. And this also applies to Mega Clefable as well, I guess. Maybe if Mega Clefable gets pixelated, it could be cool. But yeah, like both those mons like would just prefer to be supporters. Mega Emboar, like yes, it gets a stat buff, but it's not like anything interesting enough to like change it that much. Mega Eelektross, again, like it gets a stat buff, but it's not anything interesting to change it that much. Mega Frostlass, I'm actually gonna put Mega Frostlass on the bottom, and I'm gonna put like Scrafty and Clefable, because Scrafty and Clefable aren't bad megas because. Okay, so I'll put it this way, right? I mean, I don't know if that's worse or better, like, depending on how you look at it, right? Like, Scrafty and Clefable are, like, potential design oversights because, like, you know, their regular kits are just better, right? Their regular mon rolls are just better. But they can at least be saved by, like, a really broken ability. Even Eelektross, maybe, right? Like, I just think these Pokemon are just all, like, yeah, it's just not much reason, right? Skarm was kind of doomed. Like I don't fully blame them for this one. Like its stats were just so bad, and it's like how do you like redistribute this to make it like a good mon, right? Like you just kind of sometimes like for these, I think you just gotta like straight give it extra points or just straight dump into like speed and attack, right, and just make it good. Hawlucha, Starmie, what's it called? Oh, what's the guy called again? I just forgot his name. Oh, Falinks and Scolipede. Pretty cool. I mean, like, they're all significant enough increases where I think they're interesting. I'm probably going to put Dragalge down one, to be honest. I don't think Dragalge is going to be that. Honestly, the more I look at Dragalge, the more I want to put it, like, here, to be honest. But if it has a good ability, I'll put it next to Scolipede because I feel like they're pretty comparable. Dragalge is, like, whatever. And then we have Shandy, Barbaracle, and Chesnaught and BE. I think they're all, like, first off, I think Chesnaught's design is sick, by the way. They did a great job on Chesnaught's design. That, baller. Chandelure's design, baller. Honestly, Barbaracle looks like an Elden Ring boss, which is pretty sick. That being said, and I think giving him a typing change was interesting too. All those mons, they will potentially be good enough. Like, compared to the other megas, I think they'll have some, like, interesting stuff going on. Let's think about... Now, I want to talk a little bit about Dragonite, Greninja, Meganium, Feraligatr, all good mons with their changes. Like I think Feraligatr definitely appreciated the changes. Meganium definitely appreciated the changes. It was terrible before this. And it has a good special attack. I think Greninja is still great, right? Like that's really good. It can be a Mega Delphox answer in the format, which is pretty cool. It's also faster than all the other megas. It can Dark Pulse Metagross. It can go for Ice Beam into that. It can Dark Pulse like Mega Gengar. Actually, I'm gonna put, now that I'm saying all this, I'm gonna put Mega Greninja up. I actually think it could do a lot with its like speed stat and special attack. Dragonite gets a pass into A just because of the fact it's like a pseudo and it got a bunch of billion stats, right? But that's like kind of like a cop out, I guess. Mega Drill, Mega Delphox. Like, I don't think whatever ability they give Delphox, I'm gonna put Delphox over this. Unless it's like a really bad ability, it can be like bad in the expanding force niche. It's probably one of the best additions to size spam in the game, right? And then Mega Drill, if it has a bad ability, it might be bad. So I'm very scared to see what ability they give it. I'm just hoping they give it, if they give it a new ability that's like unique, sure, right? If they give it Sand Rush, perfect. That's fine, right? I am terrified terrified of them giving this thing Sand Force. If they give Drill Sand Force, it goes from like here all the way down to like here. But I'm going to be optimistic and trust that they will not give this thing Sand Force like Mega Chomp. Hopefully they learned from that because it was just bad, right? But yeah, I think like that's definitely the main parts of it for sure. But overall, so like if you're, I think now is a good time at the end of the video to kind of talk about like my thoughts on the megas in general. I think what is the, so like what I'm a little scared of that I hope that they really work on, I guess, is like there's a lot of megas, right? And if they're, I don't know if they're going to keep adding megas or not, like whatever, right? If they do keep adding megas, I think less is more if the megas are well thought out and like actually have niches, right? Because right now, like with this list, what I see is like all of C, I mean, maybe C some can get by. All of like half of C into D and F, like those megas will just never be played in competitive, right? At least like by someone seriously trying to use it, unless like they get really good abilities, right? I could be wrong. They could get really good abilities, right? So I hope that if they add more megas, because I know, for example, like I think it's like Raichu X and Raichu Y got announced, right? Like they need to really be thinking about how they're distributing these stats in ways to like make the mons viable or give them unique roles. That being said, I want to make this clear to anyone listening. The abilities are not out. They could be better designed than I think they are off of the base stat impressions. I do need to say that again, right? That being said, though, right, from stat impressions, a lot of these Pokemon just feel like it's like throwing stats or like you're wasting stats on like useless stats like attack or special attack where they don't need it, right? That being said, though, they have some really good bangers here, right? Like I think Mega Greninja, Mega Excadrill, like Mega Delphox. Like I just hope that, and like Mega Meganium, Mega Feraligatr, right? I just hope that like going forward, right, like the megas they're adding, like less is more, right? So like even if you have to rework, like I don't care if you go back and change all of these stats because some megas are worse than others. Like Champions is a game that allows you to change stats, right? Like if you're doing like patches or like whatever, I don't know. And maybe they're not interested in this, I guess, whatever. But like if they do, like, they've gone back and reworked other Pokemon before. Please, please, please. Game Freak, if you're listening. Pokemon, if you're listening, right? If you know a Mega is bad, right? And you, or like, you know, bad, or like not viable competitively, right? Like, it doesn't have the stats to. A bad might be a bit harsh, right? Please, please, please. I don't think anyone in the competitive community will be upset if you redesign them on its stats or like how it functions in the meta. I think that's like one of the most interesting things that can be done still. Kind of like how Shiftry got Wind Rider, or other Pokemon got like buffed from gen to gen, right? Like I think those would be positive changes for sure for a lot of these Pokemon. If like they underperform, like I think they will in this moment. And of course, it's all my opinion, right? So take it as a grain of salt. But for sure, overall, I like the new games. It's pretty fun. New megas are sick. And yeah, I mean, we'll see how they do when competitive comes around. If you guys enjoyed this video, let me know what you guys think. If you guys have any opinions on the megas, you think like, oh, this thing's too low, this thing's too high, let me know. And yeah, we'll talk soon. But anyways, guys, thanks for tuning in the video. Catch you guys later. Peace.